Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here with us. We are at the end of the journey of the Omer. We're at the end of the journey from Egypt to Sinai, from Passover to Sukkot. And I am so glad to be here with all of you. We're actually, strictly speaking, Shavuot is not yet, but we're having this lesson beforehand so that you can know about it and be ready for it, because it's probably the least known of all the holidays. The actual Shavuot will begin at sundown on Sunday, and we look forward to celebrating it. But tonight we're just going to talk about how and what it is, because here it is, a major Jewish holiday, and nobody's ever heard of it. You know, if you say, oh, Passover's coming, everybody knows, oh, I'm going to have my Seder, and I'm going to have matzah, and I'm going to have more matzah, and I'm going to have more matzah. They know that. Okay, that's easy. And if you say Hanukkah's coming, everybody says, we're going to light candles. We're going to light candles. But when you say Shavuot's coming, everybody looks at each other and says, what's that? What's that? In ancient times, in biblical times, the holiday of Sukkot, following the High Holy Days, was known as Hehag, the holiday. And that was it was the most beloved holiday in the year. Now, here in the United States, we see fewer people getting excited about Sukkot these days, but the most celebrated holiday is Passover. And I think this is really interesting. This is the closest I come to getting all cosmic about things. I'm a kind of plain Jew. But if we have three pilgrimage festivals, three big holidays in Judaism, we have the Passover, we have the holiday of Sukkot, which was the big holiday in biblical times. Now that it's rabbinic times, we have the big holiday of Passover, and everybody's focused on it. I like to think that at some point in the future, the big holiday, Hechag, will be Sukkot, will be Shavuot. You might think, oh my goodness, what would that look like? Well, for one thing, we would eat lots of cheese, because cheese, as you may have noticed, is something of a theme tonight. Cheese and barley are the foods we associate with Shavuot. And you might say from that, well, no wonder it's not such a popular holiday. Cheese and barley, ew. But first of all, cheese is delightful. And secondly, barley's really good for you. But no, there will be recipes, there will be wonderful things. So what is it we're really doing on Shavuot? We're completing Passover. Passover is an unfinished deal. It's one half of a contract. When we are rescued, when God stretches out a mighty arm and says, come on across the Red Sea, come on out of Egypt, and we say, oh, thank God we've gotten rid of Pharaoh. And we're so excited, and we have the Song of the Sea, and Miriam dances, and everybody gets tambourines. It's great. And then we start walking across the desert. We start walking across the word for wilderness in Hebrew is midbar. And in fact, this is the week that we read the Parsha called Bamidbar, the book of Numbers in the desert. So they're just walking across the desert, and it gets really boring really fast. Moreover, the matzah they're eating for 3 months also gets really boring really fast. And there are stories about all of that. But the excitement is when we get to the foot of Mt Sinai. We get to the foot of Mt Sinai, And we're going to get to the other half of the deal. The other half of the deal is the giving of the Torah. Now, God doesn't, like hand a processional Torah, a big Torah scroll to Moses. Moses disappears up the mountain, and we get in a bunch of trouble at the bottom of the mountain making the golden calf. But let's leave that part a part of it. We assent to the Torah. We say, yes, we'll take it. We will be partners with you, God, in this whole covenant of the Jewish people. We will be a people and you will be our God, and we will do what that Torah says. And we signed it without even reading it. Imagine that. Imagine buying a house and you didn't even read it. That says something to how delighted the Israelites were with what they'd seen of God so far. It had been a really good deal. So by golly, we're going to accept the Torah. And that's what we're celebrating today. Now, of course, that's turned out to be kind of a mixed deal. There's a little joke that you may have heard about a very holy, very old rabbi who, I'm going to change it up a little to make it fun. When she was very, very ancient, it came time to renegotiate the deal. And God said, okay, who are you going to send? And they said, well, we'll send Rabbi Amy because she's really wise and really old, and she knows what's good for us. So Rabbi Amy talks to God. This is a joke. You can make the cosmos look like anything you want. And Rabbi Amy says, well, actually, I have an idea about how this deal could be better. And God says, really? And she said, could you choose someone else this time? That's the result of a sad understanding of Jewish history, of one bad thing happening after another. But there's other ways to see Jewish history. There are other ways to look and to see what this Torah, and now I'm being serious, has done for us. It shaped a way of life that said that people are more important than anything else. People are more important than prophets. Prophets either with the PH or with the H. That people are more important than what they can produce. And that's why we keep Shabbat. That people are right at the center, right at the heart of everything important in the world. And our relationships are what keep our lives holy. My relationship with the people I work with the people I work for, with the people I serve. That's more important than anything else. Okay. Now there are stories about Shavuot. I think it lends itself to a lot of embellishment because we really aren't quite, it is such a huge cosmic event that we approach it through little stories. One of the stories is in the book of Ruth. And some of you may have been studying with us through the last couple of weeks, looking at the book of Ruth. It's a love story. And in some ways, it's really kind of a weird book of the Bible because not a lot happens. And people are all good to each other and they mostly behave. And that's kind of unusual if you think about it, particularly if you compare it to, say, Genesis, where you've got people killing each other and, all of that exciting stuff, throwing each other in pits and going home and reporting that a beloved son has been ripped up by wolves. It's, Ruth is a sweet little story, a sweet little love story about a time during the barley harvest when a stranger came to town. She was brought to town, and the woman, Ruth, was from the most despised tribe that the Israelites wanted nothing to do with, the Moabites. But she had come out of love. She arrived with Naomi, who was a fairly cranky old lady. I can identify with Naomi. She's a cranky old lady. And she's got this younger woman with her who's not all that much younger. The rabbis tell us Ruth was 40 and Naomi was 80. They arrive in Bethlehem with nothing at all. They get there and they talk. And Ruth says, Naomi says, go out and glean in the field, because that way we won't starve. So now we're out in the barley fields, experiencing what life in Israel would have been like during the Omer. And a fellow named Boaz, who it just happens is a cousin of Naomi's, or actually by marriage, a cousin of Naomi's dead husband, falls in love with Ruth. They fall in love, they get married after a little bit of difficulty with Jewish law. Welcome to every century. And there we are. The great grandparents of King David met and had a baby that would be the grandfather of King David. What a simple little story, but it's a vision of the world that could be. It's a vision of what the world is like when people really observe Torah and care about it. Now, there are other stories. About Shavuot. Exodus tells us that at the gathering, that we gathered tachat hehar, under the mountain. And of course, we know from, it's a literary phrase, it doesn't mean under the mountain, it means at the foot of the mountain. We camped there and watched Moses go up to where it was all blowing up upstairs. But the rabbis took that phrase and said, what if they really were under the mountain? What if God was holding the mountain above them at first to shelter them? And then God said, if you don't accept the Torah, guess what? Well, that's awful. That's a terrible story. So we don't tell that one too much. But the point is, this is a story that lends itself because Torah is at the center of it. And Torah is in many ways a mystery. We study it for years and we never understand all of it. We just get a little bit. Now we have customs that go with Shavuot. One of the customs we've been celebrating with the music here tonight, we've been celebrating cheese. You might say, why is cheese such a big deal? Well, if you've just gotten the Torah and you haven't been keeping kosher very long, like you've been keeping kosher for 10 minutes. This is in fact something converts deal with. All of a sudden, half the food in the house is inedible. Oh my gosh, it's all treifa. What are we going to do with all this treifa? Well, we'll feed it to the animals. We'll feed it to somebody else. But what are we allowed to eat? Oi gewalt, what are we going to eat? Well, what we're going to eat is dairy, because dairy is real simple. Dairy is the easiest stuff to deal with. If you keep a dairy kitchen, which is what I did when I was living in Israel, if I kept a dairy kitchen, I could do that fairly simply. Once I'm switching back and forth to meat and trying to, purchase kosher meat and all of that, everything gets complicated. But dairy is simple. There are some contemporary rabbis who say the whole point of kashrut is to nudge us away from meat to a simpler diet, to a vegetarian diet, or maybe even a vegan diet. I don't know. I'm not evolved enough yet to have done that. But I do know I hold it out there as something I might do someday. So cheese is a very big deal. We eat cheesecake on Shavuot. We eat blintzes on Shavuot. In fact, why don't we have a little moment here? Everybody, I've got the chat box is up. Type into the chat box your favorite dairy treat. I'll type mine too. Mac and cheese, ice cream, cheesecake, mac and cheese, blintzes, more cheesecake. There we go. We've got lots of possibilities. Quesadilla, yes, a quesadilla is good. Ooh, and kadeh, a Kurdish Jewish food we eat on Shavuot. I need to learn tomorrow. I will have to get a recipe for you from kadeh. These are all celebration foods that are dairy foods, and they're really wonderful for Shavuot because we're remembering when we just first got the rules and we were trying to figure out how to follow them. Just like a new Jew does, just like somebody who was born Jewish and didn't get an education did, we have to figure it out. And cheese is a simple place to start. Now, and yes, some people are lactose intolerant and they can only eat plant-based cheese and ice cream. Some people are vegan. They're already, not using animal products. And so they are ahead of me on at least the way I see things. They're ahead of me on the with. But all of these are minhagim. Another minhag for Shavuot is to study all night. It's a late night, all night study party. If you are a Torah studying geek like me, you think that sounds like fun. I imagine there are some of you sitting there going, oh, I don't think so. The night I fell in love with Torah was at a Tikkun Leil Shavuot, a resolution of the night of Shavuot. That's the all-night study party. And I was studying with people that I was a little scared of in the Torah study at the congregation I was attending. And I thought, oh, these people are all so smart and they know Hebrew. I barely knew my Aleph Bet. So I'm a little intimidated by the whole group. And then as the night got later and later, and they had more and more sugar from the cheesecake and more caffeine in the middle of the night from the coffee, they got silly. And all of a sudden, I understood the joy of Torah. Because even when you're exhausted, even when you're on a sugar high, even when you're like a crazed toddler, it's still beautiful. In fact, it's even more beautiful. And that's another way of celebrating Shavuot study. We've got a lot of opportunities. I hope you will take a look at our webpage for all the possibilities of study during Shavuot. We have a very nice set of things. There are also Tikkun Leil Shavuot going on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, depending on people's practice around computers. And so there's lots to do. And I invite you to enjoy those. Now, I'm going to take a little trip here. If you are a Bay Area Jew, how many of you are from the Bay Area? Okay. How many are from California? Okay, even more hands. All right, this mountain behind me, Half Dome, you can see. If you visit a synagogue in San Francisco, you will find that there is a beautiful stained glass window there where Moses is coming down from the mountain. And if you look closely, you will realize that the mountain that Moses is coming down is that one, is Half Dome. The reason for that is some of the very early Jews here said, this might be our promised land. This is a place where we are, yes, Sheretz Israel on California. This is the, and yes, Mashid, you're right. Shavuot means weeks. We have a special connection to ideas like the desert, ideas like the mountain here. Every place will celebrate Shavuot a little differently, but it's a special holiday. Now, I need to wind up here. I've been rambling on. I hope you find your way of celebrating this Chag. You can greet anybody on Shavuot by saying Chag Sameach. Try that out loud in your home. Chag Sameach. That means happy holiday. Chag is a holiday. Sameach is happy. You can say Shavuot Sameach. Happy Shavuot. You can even say Chag Shavuot Sameach if you want to show off how well you can make a sound. But whatever you do, whether you celebrate by eating cheese, whether you celebrate by studying, whether you celebrate at home or with other people at home, I hope you have a happy Shavuot.